Right. Well, welcome to this live stream. I'm going to be putting this on YouTube as well, but this is my first attempt at live streaming a game of Kerbal Space Program. I hope the volume's not too bad. I'm sure that someone in the chat will let me know. I've just turned it down a little bit, so hopefully it shouldn't be too loud. For those of you that haven't played Kerbal before, the idea is that you are setting up your own space program, launching these Kerbal guys into space and seeing where we can get them. The current version that I'm playing is 0.22. This is still in beta, but they've got a long way with this game. And the 0.22 release has been quite interesting because it's released the new career mode. So we're going to be having a go at the career mode. Here we go. So let's give ourselves a name. Let's pick a flag. I've created a flag, especially for our space program. This is running. I've got no mods running. There's quite a few mods that you can download for this game, but I've got no mods running, so that you can see exactly how this game works. And this is the Kerbal Space Center. This is where everything happens. We've got this here is our vehicle assembly building where we build our rockets, and then this is the space plane hangar where we can build space planes. We've got this is kind of the staff area where you hire new astronauts, and then we've got over here the tracking station where we keep track of all the flights we've got in progress. And then we've got the research and development centre here, which is a new addition as part of the career mode, which obviously now plays quite an important part in the game, especially since right at the start you start with only the very, very basic rocket parts. So we'll be experimenting in there quite a bit, I should think. And obviously we've got the launch pad over here, which is where most of the action is going to be taking place. The first thing we'll do is we'll have a look in the Research and Development Centre, and this is the tech tree that they added in this version. You start with this here. This is the start technology, and these are the basic parts that you start with. We've got a basic command pod, we've got a basic liquid fuel engine, liquid fuel tank there, and then a solid fuel booster. Got a girder here that we can use for strapping stuff together, although they're pretty useless at most of the time. Communitron, this is for sending messages back from your command pod to the control center. And then we've got a parachute, which is obviously quite important, certainly in the early stages when you're not sending up things that you're intending to stay in space. Science is the currency that we use for researching new parts and things. We start with 0 science, and this is the first thing that we can research. This is the basic rocketry, I don't know, research item. I don't know what you would call them. And this unlocks again some basic stuff. We've got a decoupler here, which is quite important. Some more fuel tanks, and then the mystery goo containment unit, and this is designed to help us generate some extra science, but we'll come to that in a minute. We need 5 science to be able to get ourselves on the tech tree. So what we're going to do, we're going to start building a rocket so that we can generate some science. So let's go into the vehicle assembly building, and this is our vehicle assembly building. We have to start off with a command pod. This is a single man command pod. Very basic. You can see here, it gives us some information. Minimum crew to operate 1. SAS equipped. SAS is a system that helps us to stabilize the rocket during launch and during the flight. The reaction wheels, that generates the torque that helps us to stabilize things when we've got no aerodynamics, which obviously in early rockets we're going to have no aerodynamics whatsoever. and it requires an electrical charge to power the reaction wheels, obviously when we've got the SAS running. So we're going to stick with this because this is the only command pod we've got at the moment. And then in propulsion we're going to need some fuel tanks. I think for now we'll just start with a very basic small fuel tank and a basic engine. This isn't going to go very far, but to be honest, with the early rocket tech, you're not really going to get very far anyway, so we're not too worried about that at the moment. Hold on a second, let me see if I can adjust the volume a bit. This is probably going to pause a bit while I play around with the volume. Let's turn it down a little bit. There we go. Hopefully that's improved the sound a little bit there. Obviously, this is the first time that I've streamed with this software, so I'm not really too sure how the levels work. I've got the volume of the speakers turned down really low at the moment, so hopefully that's enough for you guys to hear what's going on, but without drowning out my voice. So, right, another important rocket part that we've got here. We need the parachute. Parachute is very important because we're going to have one of our astronauts in here, and we preferably want him to come back safely so that we can use him again. And the last part that we can build is this antenna communitron for sending back messages. We'll just stick one of those on. Nothing else that we can build here, so let's give this a name. What are we going to call this? Let's call this Rocket 1. What an adventurous name. This is a very poorly constructed rocket. It probably won't get very far. So there we go. Let's save that rocket. Not that we really need to, but let's just have a look. We've got our crew tab here. Let's have a look at our crew. These are our 3 starting astronauts. We've got Jebediah Kerman, the hero of the Kerbal space program. Bill Kerman and Bob Kerman here are going to be staying behind because this is only a one-man lander, one-man command pod, as we said. So Jeb's doing this mission solo. Hopefully we can get him back safely. Although these 3 guys, if you do have some kind of major catastrophe and they die, these 3 guys do come back. But any other guys that you hire in from the astronaut complex, the staff room that I mentioned, if you lose them, they're gone for good, unfortunately. But we'll stick with these 3 guys for now. Okay, one last thing that we need to do. This section down here is our staging. Lets us know what's going to happen when throughout our flight. So we're just going to add an extra stage here and move the rocket down, because we don't want the rocket to fire at the same time as the parachute going off, because that wouldn't be very handy. So hopefully we'll have the rocket fire, we'll go up, we'll do some investigating, the parachute will bring us back down into, well, maybe not dry land. We'll probably have to dump in the water because this might be a bit too heavy for the parachute to recover, but we'll land it hopefully safely back and be able to recover this and generate some science. So, saving the rocket, and let's go out to the launch pad for our first Kerbal launch. I've played this game quite a bit recently. I've not explored a huge amount of the tech tree, so I'm hoping that over this video series we might be able to have a better look at some of the later technologies. I've only really played around with the early ones. I've played in the sandbox mode before this release, but it's nice to feel that you're having some kind of achievement while you're playing the game. It's good fun. So this is our launch pad. You can see our sad excuse for a little rocket sitting here on the launch pad. our vehicle building and everything sitting around. I think this little building over here, you can't see it very well there, but this little building over here is the command center where all the bigwigs and bosses sit to watch the launch. So let's get this thing into space, shall we? Well, it might not get into space. I've hardly put any fuel on it, but let's see how we go. So one of the important things we need to do with the launch is we need to turn on SAS, which you'll see here. Come on. The SAS stabilizes the launch so that we go up in a straight line rather than wobbling around or spinning around. And then we need some throttle up. There's the throttle. So, okay, so this is Rocket 1 on the maiden Kerbal voyage, hoping to generate some space. What we're going to do actually, before we do that, just to generate a bit of science, we're going to take a crew report sitting on the launch pad. You record the crew's assessment of the situation, crew report from the launch pad. So we see we've got a data size here of 5 MITs. I don't know what MITs are. I think they're supposed to be like bits of data. So this is 5 MITs with a scientific value of 1.5. So we can generate 1.5 science from that. If we transmit this information, we'll see it says 100% science value. So we can transmit this information back via the radio system, and we will get 100% of this 1.5 science value. So I'm going to do that now, although looking at, we've got resources up here. You can see here we've got electric charge. And it's ticking down very slowly because I've got the SAS on, which uses a little bit of the electric. And when we transmit it, we'll use a huge chunk of this electric, but the engine during the launch, as we burn fuel, it will also generate some electricity for us. So hopefully we'll be able to transmit again, maybe halfway through the launch or something like that with another crew report. So let's transmit this. We should see the aerial pop out. There it goes. And as you can see, the electric charge really drops down and it's continuing to tick down slowly. So we need to get this thing in the air. So we've got the SAS on, we've got the throttle up. So let's do a countdown. Ready? I don't want to do a countdown from 10. We'll do a countdown from 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whee! Here we go. We're off up in the air. You can see the fuel burns down really quickly. This is the fuel in this particular engine burning down really quickly. So we're really not going to get very far. So I'm going to turn the SAS off and we're just going to move. Oops, and turn it back on. Whoa! Okay. That turned a lot quicker than I expected. There's a lot of torque there on the command pod for such a small rocket. So I think what we need to do is hopefully when this thing spins around a little bit, we'll get that parachute out straight away. There we go. Let's hope that I think we're just about going to make it into the water so that we can recover this rocket. If not, hopefully that parachute will slow us down just enough for Jebediah Kerman to survive. So, as I said, we've got the electric charge. While we're in the air, I'm going to grab another crew report. This is 3.5 science value because we're flying somewhere slightly different. So we're going to transmit that quickly, just in case we don't actually survive this. I think we're going to be okay. We'll probably lose the engine and the fuel tank when we land, but that's not a big issue. I think we're just about going to have. There we go. The parachute's deployed properly there at 500 meters. 9.9 meters per second should be just about good enough for us to land in the water. I can see the messages on the Twitch chat here. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can't see these. Let's bring these Twitch chats in, shall we? There we go. So now everyone, if you're going to be watching on YouTube later, you can see the Twitch chat now. So yeah, no restarts. Nope. I'm hoping to try and play this as realistically as possible. So if everything goes completely wrong, hey, splashdown. There we go. we survived. Yeah, if everything goes completely wrong, we hopefully. Well, I don't plan to restart or revert any launches and things like that. The only time I might do some reverts is if I send a thing out to the launch pad and realise I've done something wrong before I hit the ignition. But once we've hit the ignition, that's it. We're committed. We're taking the flight. So we'll see how that goes. So we've splashed down. We can, although we won't be able to transmit it, we can take another crew report while we're down in the water. We've splashed down. It's worth another 2 science. So what we can do is we'll keep that data because we can't transmit it, and that'll store it in the pod. But also we can do a little bit. Look at Jebediah there. He's quite happy to have landed down. He's quite courageous when it comes to these flights. So he's quite happy. He doesn't really care that we've splashed down in the water and not really made it anywhere. So I'm going to go EVA with him. EVA means we're going to head outside the pod. I'm just going to try and, there we go, rotate it around a bit so that the crew hatch is on the top so that he can get back in again. Okay, I don't think that really worked, but we'll see. So he's going EVA. Here we go. Jebediah Kerbal. Kerbal, is that right? Jebediah Kerbal. Taking a bit of a swim here out on the ocean. So what we can do, we can take an EVA report. Oops, I missed that. EVA report. There we go. I don't think the spacesuit was entirely necessary to get here, was it? No, you're quite right there, Jeb. This really wasn't necessary, but there we go. Who knows what could have happened. So here we go. Scientific value 3.2. If we had well, he can't transmit from his EVA suit, but if we could transmit this data, this is saying it's only 50% science value. What that means is, although it's got a scientific value of 3. I'm pointing with my finger at the screen. That's a bit stupid. Here we go. Look, cursor. The scientific value is 3.2. If I transmit it, the transmission signal would degrade 50% of that scientific value. So it's only really worth 3.2 if we can recover Jebediah and his command pod. Well, if we can recover Jebediah, really. So we're going to keep that data so that we don't waste any. And while we're in the water, we're going to take a surface sample as well. Now, surface samples are worth quite a bit of science. There's quite a bit of information that they take there. Let's see, surface sample from Kerbal's water. You've taken a sample of the water. It appears to dramatically increase the surface humidity of anything it touches. Well, yeah, it's water. So this is worth 12 scientific value. So this is really handy because this is going to get us started on the tech tree. Remember, we only needed 5 to get us going on the tech tree there. So we've got this information now. He's storing this information. Hopefully we can. Here we go. Look, let's see if we can get back in there. Nope. Come on, grab on and get in. Nope. Let's try and push it. Push it. Push it. Grab it. Nope. Come on. Flip that door open. Flip that door open. No, he's not getting back in there. Well, fortunately, we're still on our home planet here, so we can just recover Jeb and the command pod separately. So let's recover Jeb here, and we'll get a report about Jeb. Here we go. So we recovered 2 experiments from Jeb, which was the surface sample that he took worth the 12 science, and the EVA report worth 3.2 science. 15.2 science in total from that recovery. We've got a total of 20, which includes the report that we sent while we were sitting on the launch pad and the one that we were doing as we were coming down, about to crash down into the water. So that's 20 science recovered there. And then we can go to the tracking station, and we can see there's Rocket 1 splashed down. It looks very similar to Earth, and it's very similar in many ways to Earth, but this is Kerbal. This is the home planet of the Kerbals, and there's Rocket 1 splashed down just outside. This is the the Space Center area. So let's recover Rocket 1. And there we go, there's the extra 2 science from the crew report in the water. And we get an extra 5 for recovering a vessel that survived a flight. So we've got a total of 27 science now, so that's really handy. That's going to get us started on our tech tree. So let's head now back to the Space Center. We'll head straight into the, there we go, the Research and Development Center. And we can research this basic rocketry for 5 science out of our 27. And here we go. This unlocks our next 3 possible research topics. We've got up here general rocketry, which costs 20 science. And we unlock here a slightly different liquid fuel engine. It's got slightly less power, but it includes thrust vectoring, which is handy for controlling your launches, particularly on larger launches. Basically the engine will rotate slightly to change the direction of the thrust, which is handy. We've got the separatron here, which is mostly useless. It's just a small, tiny little engine which you use to push junk away as you detach it from the main rocket. And this is pretty handy for later launches. This is the larger solid fuel booster. We've got the small one in the basic set, but this is just a larger, longer one with more fuel in it and quite a lot of kick. So that's the general rocketry, and then here we've got stability. This is an aerodynamic nose cone, which is good for when you start building bigger rockets. We've got an AVT1 winglet, which is a fixed wing to help with aerodynamics. Mostly useless, but that's the basic. And then the radial decoupler, that's very handy for later launches when we've got fuel tanks attached to the side of our rocket. We can let them go in whatever order we need to. And then this one here is our survivability section. This is mainly for landing. We've got a small, very small liquid fuel engine here. Some landing struts, which are extendable legs, and then a radial parachute, that we can attach to the side of a rocket, which is particularly handy later when you're starting looking at rockets that are going to be docking or something like that with a space station. So, which hopefully we might get to a bit later on in the series. We'll have to see how well we get on with our project. So we need to decide what we're gonna go for here. Obviously we've unlocked the stack decoupler, which is going to be very handy, particularly for re-entering. We can now sort of make our rocket a bit heavier because we don't have to worry about it needing to come back down to the planet and survive in one piece. We can detach pieces off, so that's going to be quite handy. This rocket's quite handy when we're looking at getting into orbit and things like that. So we might have to look at that one. Survivability, I think for now we don't really need this. This is more for when we're looking at going to the moon and landing on the moon and things like that. Although this, I do happen to know that this area of the tech tree does branch off and leads to areas where we can generate some more science a bit quicker. It unlocks things like the science bay or the science lab. I can't remember what they call it, so we might want that one. I think for now we're going to stick with the general rocketry. I think we might skip the stability, and when we generate a bit more science we'll go for the survivability, but for now we'll go with the general rocketry so that we can use some of these extra handy items, and we can see that that's unlocks some extra things which we can take a look at a little bit later. We've got 2 science left, so there's not much else we can do there.